Thank you. Thank you. And a big shout out to Samantha. She's been doing an incredible job just facilitating speaker after speaker. Really, it's pretty awesome. Okay, so we're going to have a little bit of fun with some creativity today. So look under your seat. No, you don't have a car like Oprah, but you do have a jar of PlayDoh. We're going to be using that in a little bit, so feel free to kind of get ready. There's also paper and pen. We're going to start out with a drawing activity, just giving you a heads up. So I'm so excited to be here to talk to you about the genius behind design. And it's awesome that this year's theme is about curiosity, because curiosity is the great starting point to design. And you might think that I believe that design is best when it comes from the singular vision of the creative genius, because I'm from Silicon Valley. But the reality is, for anybody who gets to know me, you'll know that I'm the furthest thing from a genius. And I think that there's a dark underbelly to curiosity. In America, we have this statement that curiosity killed the cat. And so I feel like we need to think more broadly about everyone's curiosity. And if you get to know me, you can know that I make mistakes all the time. This was me yesterday. I actually busted open my elbow. And the reality is that design genius doesn't come from people like me. Design genius comes from unleashing the creativity in everyday people and involving them in your process. So I'm going to share with you today 3 stories about how I've tried to do that. But we're going to get started with a drawing activity. So take out your paper and your pens. And what I want you to do is look at your neighbor, give him a little fist bump. Okay? And now, what I want you to do in 1 minute, I want you to draw them. You guys ready? 1 minute. Get out your pens. There's pens under your chairs. On your mark, get set, go. What's the German word for sorry? Okay, we're about halfway done. All right, 10 seconds left. Put the finishing touches on those masterpieces. Okay. All right, pens down. Very good. Now share your drawing with the person who it's of.
You walked away from me, but I was drawing you.
Amazing. Very good. Very good. So good. Thank you. It's lovely. Can I keep it?
Sure.
Actually, why don't you hold it for a minute? Why don't you hold it for a minute? Yeah, hold it for a minute. Okay. Now, I want you to hold these up for me to see. I'm going to take a big panoramic photo of this moment. You guys ready? You got to stay nice and still. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, beautiful. Look at all of that creativity. Amazing. Okay, awesome. So what you guys just did was actually a creativity experiment that was done by Professor Bob McKim. It's this guy over here on the left. He's actually a Stanford engineering professor. And he was kind of fascinated with the role of creativity in the engineering process, and he did this activity hundreds of times with people of all kind of ages. Now, what just happened happens every time you do this activity with adults. I was walking down the aisles, and I heard lots and lots of sorries. Or what is sorry in German? I heard that too. Because this is kind of uncomfortable for us. Now, when Bob McKim did this activity with kids, particularly kids who were in like preschool, what do you think they react? Yeah, they're totally fine with it. They're not particularly excited or sad, they just do it. And Bob McKim did this activity to prove that as human beings, we are all innately creative. I have 3 kids. And when they were little, I would remember, what happens when you put crayons and paper next to a child? What happens? They just start drawing, right? And as parents, we know they draw on things that they're not even supposed to draw on, like furniture and walls sometimes. So if you remember one thing from this talk, it is that we are all creative and that we need to somehow figure out how to get rid of the fear of the judgment of our peers, which is where that sorry comes from. Now, there's a fantastic book about this called Creative Confidence, written by the Kelly brothers, who are the founders of IDEO. This is an awesome book. I recommend it to everybody, whether or not you're a designer. And being confident in your creativity sometimes means you get out of your comfort zone. You can do this in many ways. Like I do this every day for an hour. I do crazy hip hop to kind of get myself into a place that a white old guy probably shouldn't be. So there's a lot of ways that you can exercise your creative confidence. Okay, so I'm now gonna share just 3 little projects about how I've tried to use my skills as a designer to harness the dreams of everyday people. This first one was at Motorola. Back in the day, we were working, about 5 or 6 years ago, we worked on this phone called the Moto X. Anybody here own the original OG Moto X? Clearly not the most popular phone. Was that a hand? Yes? Can you come on stage for a second? You don't have it now. It's 5 years ago. Yeah, awesome. What's your name?
Ali, yeah.
Awesome. So tell me what you love most about your phone.
Well, honestly, it was the aesthetic pleasure of just the way it felt in my hand. And the fact that it ran Android back then.
Totally. Yeah, this was the first pure Android phone that Motorola had designed in a while. So let me ask you this. Did you ever just like talk to your phone randomly?
No. Yeah. Back on Android, yes. Now on Siri, no. Yeah. I don't like Siri that much.
Yeah. So that's awesome. That's great. We did not coordinate this. I'll give you your 20 euros later. Thank you so much. That's fantastic. I'm going to tell you the story of that talking to your phone, how that started. Awesome. Cool. So when we started the Moto X, we actually went out and did design research. And we went into people's homes, and we had them imagine the future. And they role-played what the future would look like. And you can see in this picture, you see all those squares on the chair? Those are all little bits of foam core wrapped in like whiteboard material. And so people would create these scenarios, like this is Jenny in San Francisco. She always came home before her boyfriend, and the first thing she would do is find the remote and turn on the TV, because she just wanted the sound of human interaction. And when she was prototyping the future, she said, I don't always know where the remote is, and it would be so awesome if I just walk into my house, my TV knows, and it says, "Welcome home, Jenny. Do you want to turn on your favorite channel?" She'd be like, "Yes, please turn on my," and so we saw this talking to screens thing. Now, this was 6 years ago, and we saw people doing that with all types of little screens and devices. We saw people doing it with wearables. And so when we designed the Moto X, not only was this a phone that you could customize to your personal tastes, but it was also the very first device that was not science fiction that you could talk to. And our trigger word was, "Okay, Moto." Now, I'm sure many of you talk to little speakers all the time, right? That's a common thing. But by giving ordinary people the tools to imagine the future, we saw that pattern 6 years before Alexa and Google Home and Siri HomePod kind of experiences came out. So that's the first little example I wanted to show you about when you involve people in imagining the future, you see these really interesting patterns. The second one was for another American company that got bought by bought the other company I was working for. And when I joined Google, they actually brought on this lady who's amazing, Dr. Regina Dugan. She ran DARPA. Raise your hands if you know what DARPA is. Not many of you. DARPA is the US military's Advanced Research and Projects Agency. So how many of you have used GPS in the last 2 or 3 days to get around? Yeah, GPS, satellites, DARPA. How many of you guys have used the internet in like the last 5 seconds? Yeah, that was the ARPANET. That started at DARPA. How many of you guys have or want a 3D printer? DARPA, right? So they have a special way of attacking problems. This Harvard Business Review article talks all about it. One of the ways is they kick you out after 24 months. So I had 24 months to work with Regina to answer this question. What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? And what I wanted to do was actually make hardware a whole lot more like software. You know, we can choose any app we want, but our phones we can't change the hardware that much. And I thought it would be awesome if we could. So Regina said, all right, what are you gonna do? Let's try it out. So we built this little hackable phone. We took the back off of a Motorola Razr phone, put in this little yo-yo board, this little microcontroller that allows engineers to take over control of the phone. We worked with a class at Berkeley to understand what would you do with this thing. And we had this team that created this boombox where basically they were testing out in class this array set of microphones where nobody could hear this except if you were right in front of the sound. So they took great pleasure in the middle of like history class beamforming Beyonce to just like one part of the room, and the professor has no idea, and the class is like, you know, totally jamming out. And so we said, this is interesting. Like, these students are taking this platform and doing interesting things. So we then made a better prototype. This is using an Arduino proper kind of development board. And then unlike software, with hardware, you need to bring it to people. So our hardware development kit was a Mercedes Sprinter van. So thank you again, Mercedes. They're all over the place. They have an awesome dog. I don't know what that's about, but it looks pretty cool. We got this Sprinter van, and we outfitted it in 4,000 linear feet of Velcro, because Velcro is awesome. And it's like modular hardware. You can stick anything to it and change the design. And we, more importantly, we drove 14,002 miles across the country to connect with makers and designers, to ask them, what do you want with tech? Now, I have to take a quick pause here, because one of the lessons that I learned was that you have to prototype. One of the things we didn't prototype was driving at night. Now, you can imagine with Velcro and lights, driving at night, it's not a good situation when it comes to bugs. This thing got covered with bugs, and we would have to like pressure wash this thing. So a note to self, prototype everything before you do this. So we would have these hackathons, and we would invite students to think about, what do you want from technology? And they would all create these ideas and then form teams, and then within just 24 hours, they would actually build things. So our first team in Caltech took a work glove off the back of the truck, and with flex sensors and capacitive pads was translating American Sign Language into text messages. We had a team that used a smartphone to use it as a kind of an eye doctor for the 200 million people in the world that can't get good eye care because there just aren't enough competent doctors. We had a team that's from MIT who were hit by cars driving at night, who created a helmet where red brake lights would go on when you would slow down. And they had this weird thing where you would like turn your head and the signal would go off. That part didn't work so well. But they ended up launching a Kickstarter campaign that raised almost $1 million. And actually now the next generation of the Lumos helmet is actually on the Apple Store. And is this awesome way of riding safely at night. And we saw dozens of these examples of the hopes and dreams of everyday people being enabled by tech. So we decided to create Project Aura, which is a modular phone that allows anybody to contribute to the conversation of what technology should be. It's kind of like if Lego and smartphone had a baby. This is what the result would be. And the whole idea was that at any time you could swap things out. You don't have to throw away a phone if just one piece is broken. You can upgrade anytime you want. And we used this tool called D-Scout while we were still developing the phone to engage conversations with people around the world. We had 17,000 people go across the planet telling us their hopes and dreams for this project. We got artwork, we got engineering schematics, we even designed the size of the phone based on that input. And so we felt like this project was actually a collective project from all of these folks. Now, Project Ara didn't ship, but my main phone that I'm using right now is actually called the Moto Z. And this is a phone where you can actually transform it into a speaker, a projector, a camera. Any of you guys got the Z? Z2? Z1? Clearly not that popular in Europe right now. So sometimes you don't get the project that you want, but you get other projects. This project wouldn't have existed if we hadn't started. Finally, I just want to share one last project answering the question of why is design at Walmart, right? So I actually came to Walmart after we brought in Mark Laurie, who was the CEO of Jet.com, to change everything in e-commerce at Walmart. And we've done a lot of things like 2-day free shipping. We give you a discount if you go to a physical Walmart because we have a massive footprint. 94% of the US population lives less than 10 miles from a Walmart. And we did easy reorder so that when you go to walmart.com, it has this algorithm that predicts your shopping list. But honestly, none of that really matters. As awesome as it was to double the stock price of Walmart, we have a vision of design for living better. And we gather together every 3 months, about 30 families, and we have them bring in their favorite magazine, and they create a collage that describes what living better means to them. We then take those collages, and our team does a design version of a hackathon where we try to reimagine how can we create better shopping experiences for the people that we just talked to the night before. So when I joined Walmart 2 years ago, this is what the website looked like. It was not feeling very personal. I thought I typed in Hello Tech instead of Walmart, and I realized that was just an ad. And it's carousel after carousel of indecision. 97% of people actually just go straight to search. So we knew that there was an opportunity to change. And actually the name Walmart came about because Sam Walton wanted to call it Walton's Super Discount City. And his store assistant, Bob Bogle, said, Sam, there's only space for a few letters. What if we just called it Walmart? And Sam said, that sounds great. We can do the whole sign for $49. So we took that spirit of efficiency and economy, and we actually named our new typeface after Bob Bogle. And everything about this design language that we call living design is a new start. It's mobile first, it scales to the desktop, and here's just a little glimpse of what we launched just 3 weeks ago. This is something that should feel much more about you and more personalized. When you are in the logged in state, we actually recognize your name. We show you a dashboard of orders that are on their way. We give you highlights of stuff happening in your local store. And then we highlight all of these algorithms around what we think you're buying just to make shopping a whole lot easier. And then we curate better stories for you about things that we think you'd care about to make this more personal and more useful, save your time. And Cheerios looks awesome in the new Walmart, just as much as our new kind of Apple brand pages look awesome on the new Walmart. Now, you would never expect this at walmart.com, right? Raise your hand if you shopped at walmart.com. Yeah, we're looking for a whole new generation of folks to just give this a try. And so this is just kind of the start of that conversation. And I'm just gonna wrap up by saying that bringing together the needs of the business, the needs of technology, it's all about understanding the lives and the hopes and dreams of everyday people. And in our final minutes, I want to show you how easy it is to bring out those dreams, because even PlayDoh looks good on walmart.com. So now is the moment. We're going to have 60 seconds. We're actually going to do one last activity of actually showing how you can quickly bring out your own creativity. So, first of all, while you're opening up your Play-Doh, if you can sometime today, please tweet out to Hasbro or Play-Doh. They were so awesome in drop shipping 5,000 tubs of Play-Doh to us. Thank you, Hasbro, if you're listening. And what I want you to do in the next 60 seconds, well, first of all, raise your hand if you need Play-Doh, people on the sides. Yeah? If you guys can throw some Play-Doh to these guys who need it, or split your Play-Doh in half. Okay. Or just throw your Play-Doh randomly if you want, that's fine too. Okay, while we make sure everyone gets Play-Doh, does anyone know what Play-Doh was called before it was Play-Doh? It was called Kootal. Kootal, back at the turn of the century, was wall cleaner. So when you're powering your home with a wood burning or coal furnace, soot gets on the walls, and Kootal was made to kind of get rid of that soot. As we switched to gas and electric, you can imagine the market for Kootal went down. The company was about to file bankruptcy when the CEO realized that a local school teacher was taking Kootal and putting food coloring drops in it and using it as modeling clay. The CEO said, that is the purpose of Kootal. They rebranded as Play-Doh, and it's now this ubiquitous form of play. So it's another great symbol. All right, we all ready? Everyone's got some Kootal? Okay, what I want you to do, another 60 seconds, I want you to design a toothbrush from the future. You guys ready? Toothbrush from the future can do anything to help you with oral hygiene. On your mark, get set, go. Okay, 5 seconds left. Okay, who wants to share their toothbrush from the future? Yes.
All right, so it fits in like a mold. It massages your gums. It also massages the outside. It would have some X-ray abilities for mouth health, so you can see what's going on. And thanks to Cody, also adding a water entry point to be able to put the water in and out when it's...
That's amazing. Now, be honest, how many of you actually bit into your Play-Doh? Did anybody? Yeah? How many of you guys did something like this mouth guard-like thing? It's so awesome. Like, why do we take one toothbrush and get it to all four planar surfaces? Why not just bite down a couple of times? That's awesome. Okay, who else has some crazy toothbrush from the future? Yeah, way back in there. Can we get a mic runner? This lady back here, right here. Way back, in the way back.
My toothbrush from the future is electrical, and you can put the toothpaste in, and yeah, pretty much that.
That's awesome, an all-in-one. In fact, it was just this morning, my roommate had stolen my toothpaste. I had no idea where it was. No names. Yeah, no names. Awesome. Okay, maybe one more toothbrush from the future. Yeah, I'm gonna go over here.
Yes, I have a special one. I call it Smart Brush. You put it in your mouth and vibrates for maximum pleasure.
Awesome. That's great. We've got a name and some branding.
And it cleans all your teeth at the same time. Just
great.
it's holding in your mouth.
It feels like a Roomba for your mouth.
Vibrating pleasure.
That's awesome. All right, Galit, you were very excited here.
So what we have here is the perfect portable friend for your teeth. So the handle is actually the container of the paste as well, and all you need is a 1 second squeeze in order to brighten and freshen your mouth. You're a speaker. You can use that.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. You're telling me I have bad breath, I think is what that means. Yeah. Awesome. One last question. How many of you guys just did something like a little ball of candy? Or something you can eat? Yeah. I could totally get my kids to brush their teeth if it was just, a different culinary experience. So my point of using PlayDoh was that it is so easy for you on your teams, whatever you're working on, a service, a product, technology, business, to engage people in a creative conversation to get out their inner creative genius. So thank you so much. If we just go back to the slides, I'm going to give you my Twitter handle and my phone number because we're not going to have a ton of time for Q&A, but I want you guys to know that I will personally answer any questions that you have at any time. So I know it's a little vulnerable giving you all that, but thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Amazing. It's incredible.